The wind howled through the frozen forest, whipping snowflakes into a flurry that stung her cheeks as she trudged along the narrow, icy path. Emily had always loved the winter, the hush of snow on pine trees, the way her boots crunched over fresh snow, but today, even the beauty of the season could not shake the anxiety gnawing at her heart. She was on her way to her grandma's cabin, a place of warmth, cocoa, and old stories, a sanctuary she had visited every winter since she was a child. Little did she know that this journey would change her life forever. As she walked, she noticed a faint, pitiful whimper carried by the wind. At first, she thought it was just her imagination, or perhaps a fox, but the sound persisted, weak and desperate. Her pace quickened, heart pounding with a strange mix of fear and urgency. Pushing through the thickening snow, she finally spotted them, a small, shivering mother dog huddled against a tree, her eyes wide with panic and exhaustion. Around her, barely visible in the snow, were 5 tiny newborn puppies, mewling helplessly, their bodies trembling against the cold. Emily's chest tightened as tears blurred her vision. How could someone abandon them here, in the middle of this frozen forest? She immediately removed her scarf and gloves, wrapping the mother dog and her fragile puppies as carefully as she could. Her hands were numb, but she barely noticed the cold. She whispered soothing words, hoping her voice would calm their fear. The mother dog leaned into her touch, as if recognizing a protector in Emily. She had faced challenges before in her life, loneliness, the death of a beloved pet, but nothing had ever struck her hard as this did. She knew she couldn't leave them here. Not like this. Carrying the bundle as gently as possible, Emily struggled along the slippery trail. Every step felt like an eternity, the forest eerily silent except for the whimpers of the pups and the crunch of snow beneath her boots. She imagined her grandma's cabin, the warmth of a roaring fire, the smell of homemade stew, and the soft bed where they could be safe. But it was still miles away. Each gust of icy wind made her shiver, but the thought of leaving these innocent lives behind kept her moving. Along the way, Emily encountered obstacles she hadn't expected. The snow deepened, the trail disappeared in some places, and at one point, a fallen branch blocked her path. She hesitated, almost letting despair take over. How could she get through this treacherous forest without harming the tiny lives she carried? But then she felt the mother dog nuzzle her neck, a silent plea, a reminder of the responsibility she had chosen. She took a deep breath and carefully maneuvered around the branch, balancing her own exhaustion with the fragility of the bundle in her arms. Hours passed, though Emily had lost track of time. Her legs ached, her hands were stiff and cracked from the cold, but finally, through the haze of fatigue and worry, she spotted the warm glow of her grandma's cabin. Relief washed over her, and with renewed determination, she approached the door and knocked frantically. Her grandma, an older woman with a heart as big as the mountains surrounding them, opened the door. "Emily, what's wrong?" she exclaimed, alarmed by the sight of her granddaughter covered in snow, carrying trembling animals. Tears streaming down her face, Emily explained everything. Without a second thought, her grandma took the mother dog and pups inside, wrapping them in blankets and placing them near the fire. The pups slowly stopped trembling, and the mother dog, exhausted but relieved, curled protectively around them. Emily sank into a chair, overwhelmed by emotion, watching life flourish where there had been only cold and fear moments before. Over the next few days, Emily and her grandma nurtured the little family, feeding them, keeping them warm, and slowly building trust. Each small victory, the first time the puppies walked without stumbling, the mother dog's tail wagging for the first time in days, felt monumental. Emily realized that sometimes, courage isn't about being fearless, it's about showing up when others can't, and doing what's right even when it seems impossible. By the time Emily left the cabin, the mother dog and her puppies were thriving, a symbol of resilience and hope. She knew she couldn't save every abandoned animal, but she had made a difference today. And that was enough to remind her that compassion, even in the smallest acts, can change lives. As she stepped back into the snowy forest, the wind felt a little less harsh, and the path a little easier to follow. If you've ever felt helpless in the face of suffering, remember this story. Small acts of kindness, courage, and compassion ripple outward in ways we often can't see. Every life matters, every gesture counts, and sometimes, the coldest, darkest places can give birth to the warmest, most unforgettable moments. If Emily's journey touched your heart, hit that like button, share this story, and subscribe to the channel so we can continue sharing tales that inspire, uplift, and remind us all of the power of hope. The wind tore through the forest like invisible claws, scattering snowflakes across Emily's face and biting at her cheeks. She hugged her coat tighter, but warmth didn't reach the hollow ache in her chest. She had always loved winter, the serene silence, the glittering snow on pine needles, but today, it felt unforgiving. She was on her way to her grandma's cabin, a place she had always called home during the holidays. The thought of hot chocolate, crackling fires, and her grandma's warm embrace had carried her through many school days, but this morning, something felt different. As she trudged through the deepening snow, Emily heard it, a soft, desperate whimpering, almost drowned by the roar of the wind. At first, she thought it was a fox or some other forest creature. Yet the sound persisted, fragile, pleading. Her heart skipped, she quickened her pace, snow crunching underfoot, scanning the trees. Then she saw them, a mother dog, emaciated and shivering, huddled against a tree, and 5 newborn puppies barely moving in the snow. Her stomach dropped. Someone had abandoned them here. In this cold, alone. "Oh my God," Emily whispered, tears stinging her eyes. She knelt slowly, careful not to frighten them. The mother dog's eyes widened with fear, but then, hesitantly, she inched toward Emily's warmth. Emily wrapped her scarf and gloves around the trembling pups, feeling the faint heartbeat of life in her hands. The mother dog nuzzled against her palm, an unspoken plea. Emily's heart ached with an unfamiliar intensity. She had rescued injured birds and stray cats before, but this was different. Lives so fragile, fighting against the cruel winter. She tucked the bundle closer to her chest and stood, surveying the path ahead. The snow was heavier here, deep drifts hiding hidden roots and fallen branches. Every step felt impossible. Her lungs burned, her legs ached, but she couldn't stop. Not when she held 5 tiny lives and a mother who had already given them everything. "We're going to make it," she murmured, more to convince herself than them. The forest seemed endless. The wind screamed, as if trying to push her back, to tell her she couldn't succeed. At one point, Emily slipped, nearly dropping the tiny bundle, her boots sliding across an icy patch. She fell hard, scraping her palms, but the mother dog yipped sharply, and Emily felt a surge of determination. She lifted herself carefully, whispered soft reassurances, and continued. Every step was an act of courage, each footfall a refusal to give up. Hours passed, and darkness crept over the forest. Emily's breath came in ragged clouds. She imagined the cabin, her grandma's fire, the smell of bread baking, the comfort of blankets, but the road to warmth was still miles away. Her mind flashed back to the little things that had built her resilience. Her father teaching her to never leave someone behind, the summer she nursed an injured squirrel back to health, the kindness of strangers who had helped her when she felt lost. And now, it was her turn to give life, warmth, and hope to these helpless creatures. Suddenly, a howl echoed through the trees. Emily froze. The wind carried it, distant yet ominous. Wolves, stray dogs, she didn't know, and fear clawed at her resolve. The mother dog growled softly, protective, her body rigid. Emily's hands shook, but she pressed forward, whispering words of encouragement. "We can do this. Just a little farther." Her boots sank into icy snowdrifts, her thighs burning, but the thought of leaving them to die in the cold was unbearable. Finally, the warm glow of her grandma's cabin appeared through the trees. Relief flooded Emily's body, exhaustion momentarily forgotten. She pounded on the door, shivering, and when it opened, her grandma's eyes widened in alarm. "Emily, what on earth?" "They're here, please, Grandma, they need help," Emily cried, holding up the trembling mother dog and her tiny puppies. Tears streaked her face, her voice raw with urgency and emotion. Her grandma didn't hesitate. She swept them inside, immediately wrapping them in blankets and placing them near the fire. The mother dog's body finally relaxed, the warmth seeping into her frozen limbs. The puppies huddled close, eyes blinking open, sniffing the strange but safe surroundings. Emily sank into a chair, relief washing over her in waves. Over the next several days, Emily and her grandma worked tirelessly to nurture the little family. Feeding them, cleaning them, coaxing trust from frightened eyes, it was exhausting, but rewarding. Emily spent hours sitting on the floor, letting the mother dog nuzzle her hands, while the puppies crawled over her lap, discovering warmth, safety, and love for the first time. Every small victory, one puppy taking its first unsteady step, the mother dog wagging her tail tentatively, felt monumental. During quiet moments by the fire, Emily reflected on the journey. She thought of the countless animals abandoned each year, of human cruelty and negligence, and of her own power to make a difference. She realized that courage isn't about never being afraid, it's about showing up, even when fear is overwhelming. It's about carrying hope through the darkest forests, literally and metaphorically, and trusting that life can flourish if we are willing to fight for it. Weeks later, the mother dog and her puppies thrived under Emily and her grandma's care. The pups played in the snow, their joyful barks ringing through the winter woods. The mother dog, once fragile and fearful, radiated calm and affection. Emily knew she couldn't save every abandoned animal, but today, she had made a real difference. And that realization, small yet profound, filled her heart with hope. As she prepared to leave the cabin for home, Emily looked back at the little family thriving in the warmth she had helped provide. A sense of fulfillment, quiet but intense, enveloped her. Life, she understood now, often demanded bravery, compassion, and patience. And sometimes, the simplest acts, wrapping a shivering animal in a scarf, walking miles in the snow, could ripple outward into transformations we never imagined. So, if this story touched your heart, if it made you believe in the power of hope and the difference a single person can make, hit that like button, share it with others, and subscribe to the channel. Because stories like Emily's remind us that even in the coldest, darkest places, warmth, love, and courage can prevail, and that we all have the power to be a hero in someone's story.